So about 2 years ago, I made this mermaid. It was one of my very first projects with resin. I had gotten some resin from somebody who had just given it to me. I think it was old resin, and then it sat in the garage for like 6 months before I used it. So it was not only old probably to begin with, and then it sat for so long. And I don't know if you can see, but it has like a texture to it. So I don't know if that's the resin or the way it cured, because I may have let it sit outside to cure in the heat. At that time I really knew nothing about resin, just wanted to try it. And so anyway, it sat on this wall outside looking beautiful for 2 years, and one day I came home and I saw these cracks in it. And I thought, oh my gosh, this glass is going to fall right out of here and somebody's going to get hurt. And I kind of put it off for a couple of months, and finally I decided I've got to take it down. I'll order some new glass, and my husband can make me another frame. So to my surprise, when I took it down, I noticed that it's just the resin that's cracked. The glass was totally intact, and I thought, whoa, maybe I can go ahead and reuse the glass. Honestly, I was really surprised, because from a distance it looked like all the glass was cracked underneath it. Anyway, so I just started taking it apart, and it seemed to come apart. I was even able to save a lot of the pieces of glass and some of the jewelry. The resin seemed to pop right off of, and it cleaned up just fine. The only areas that gave me a problem was the resin up along the edges and in the corner. I really had to use a knife to kind of pop that out, and I was really afraid I was going to break the glass doing it, because it was kind of hard. But a few little pieces did stay in there. I just couldn't get under it, and I was afraid I was going to break the glass if I tried any harder. But it really turned out pretty good. It cleaned up well, and then I ended up painting it real pretty blue. I called to see how much a piece of glass this size would be, and it's $60 to $90 depending on the thickness of the glass. So it's in your best interest to get a picture from like a garage sale or a thrift store, and just either pop the glass out of it and make a new frame or repaint that frame. So I had saved the template from the original Mermaid, and I went ahead and got that back out and flipped the frame over and taped it to the back. And like I said, I just use this as a template to be able to paint and to be able to lay out the glass again. So next I just tried to find a skin tone that I liked, and honestly anybody could do this. All I did was filled in the lines where her back and arms were. It's as simple as can be. I am not a painter. I don't paint professionally, and actually I'm not a very good painter either. But I can follow, lines. And the head and the neck you're not going to see. It's going to be covered by hair anyway, so I'm not really worried about this. When you do paint on glass, though, you really need to give it 2 or 3 good coats. And then I found a color hair that I liked, and I just started painting it in. And at this point I was just trying to get the shape of the hair to begin with. I wasn't worrying about putting any other colors in it or anything. I just wanted to get a shape that I liked for the mermaid's hair. And once I was happy with that, I got out a shade that was a little bit lighter for highlights, and I just started painting them in. And really don't know a lot about painting hair, just that you need to paint in the direction the hair would flow. You wouldn't want to paint, right to left. You want to paint down. And like I said, I'm not a professional painter. I'm sure somebody else could have done a much better job with the hair, but this was, I tried my best, and that's what I did. And the great thing about painting on glass is you can reshape areas that you don't like with a razor. So I kind of was reshaping her arms a little bit, and any paint that, got out of line there, I was able to take off. So that's one thing that's great about painting on glass, is you can reshape it. And then I was actually able to use the old shell from the other mermaid. I just popped the resin off it. There was a little resin hardened resin stuck underneath it, but that wasn't a big deal. And then I did a little bit of shading. I got a little darker color than her skin tone, and I just did around the sides of the arms and around her, the sides of her waist, and made a little line up the back of her back. And now she's ready for the tail to be done. So next I got a bunch of my glass out and went through it. I decided those were the three colors I was going to use, the dark blue, the light blue, and the aqua. And I did take the colored template out, and I had made a white template to use just for the tail. And I used some of the old jewelry and old glass, but I also picked some new pieces of jewelry and new glass because I had changed up the colors a little bit from what the previous mermaid looked like. So all the glass I'm using in this video is glass that I've picked up at garage sales and thrift stores. It's cups and bowls and plates, and this is glass that is colored all the way through, and I tumble it in my tumbler after I break it up for about a week, and you get all the smooth edges like this. Now all the jewelry that you see is also from thrift stores and garage sales, except for like the little beads there, I believe, are from Michael's. Then I continued to put jewelry and glass and beads and even some shells to make up the mermaid tail. At the very bottom, I put some crushed shells that I had picked up at Michael's. I put some driftwood, some shells, and I also had some tumbled green stained glass that I had previously cut and tumbled in my tumbler, and I used that to simulate seagrass at the very bottom of the mermaid. 3 starfish at the side. And now it was ready for resin. The resin I used for this project was art resin. When I work with resin, I use gloves. I wear a respirator. This resin's a 1-to-1 ratio resin, 1 part resin to 1 part hardener. When you first mix them in the cup, they appear clear, and then as you start to mix them, they become cloudy. And as the mixture comes to its final mixing, when it's all done, it becomes clear again. You need to mix it for around 3 minutes. The slower you mix it, the less bubbles you'll get. It looks like I'm mixing it real fast in this, but it's just because I have the video sped way up. You need to scrape the bottom and scrape the sides for thorough mixing. And as you see it turn clear again, you know it's ready to pour onto the project. I usually spoon the resin over the glass first to make sure that it adheres to the glass first, and then I put it around the edges and of course in the center. Now for this project I actually used 4 cups, so a total of 32 ounces of resin I used. It's a pretty large project and I felt like that's what I needed. Yes, and I actually used my whole hand to smooth it out because there was so much area. Now after that I used some rubbing alcohol to clean the sides of the frame to get any drips off, and I had gotten quite a few drips. And I actually used the butane torch, the little kitchen torch, to get the bubbles out. There was quite a few bubbles, but I guess I didn't record it. So anyway, it did take quite a few minutes. I think I worked on it for about 5 minutes to get all the little bubbles off. And you see I put the little headband on her with the starfish hanging from it in her hair, and then I just kind of straightened everything out and put some reflective blue glass all over the glass there, and then I also put some pearls and just kind of straightened everything out, and she was done. Hey everyone, I hope you guys can tell by me standing next to it how big it really is. It's huge, and I don't know if I'm thrilled about the little blue things that I put on here, the little piece of blue glass, but I still like it all in all. I think I liked my first one better, but I was so happy that I was able to save the frame and save the glass. I would have never known, honestly. I thought that that was the glass that was cracked, and when I took it off, it was just gonna shatter all over. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to be notified of future videos, subscribe, and have a great day.